The sanctuary of Delphi is probably the most extraordinary of all ancient Greek sites. Delphi amazes all who visit it. This place is the center of the world. The ancient Greeks called it the omphalos, which means the navel of the earth. Zeus, the father of the gods, wanted to find the center of the universe, so he sent two eagles flying from the opposite ends of the universe. And the place where they met was Delphi.
Welcome to Delphi, Indiana, where our storied past is fueling a stellar future.
Whenever and wherever human beings endure suffering and humiliation, sometimes we must interfere. When human lives are endangered, when human dignity is in jeopardy, wherever men or women are persecuted, that place must, at that moment, become the center of the universe.
I'm going to go on the record right now and say that they are trying to kill Rick Allen.
Yeah.
They want him to die.
Yeah.
It's like always like in and out, in and out. They don't want him. They don't want us to see it.
He's my size, chains and collars and leashes all over.
It's all about optics. You don't have all of those people around Rick Allen because they want to keep everybody else safe. They don't want us to see Rick Allen. They don't want us to look at Rick Allen. They don't want us to see his face and his eyes. Remember when he came in June and he was all doped up and he was dissociative and he was experiencing psychosis from being tortured and starved and sleep deprived and probably withheld his medication. All of these things that they were doing to him so that he would show up looking like a zombie and couldn't protest or assist in his defense. Guess what? The eyes of the world are on them. They're not allowed to do that to him anymore. And they have tried to break him. And Rick Allen, he's not going to break. Look he has done a year in solitary confinement. A year.
He's on the upside of things. Like if he's still alive, he's getting better every day.
His attorneys get thrown off the case and he turns to his wife and he says, it's okay. You didn't break him. You're not going to break him. He's not guilty. Whatever they're trying to do, you're hip to it. It is not going to happen.
Do you have any idea what their defense is going to be, given the fact that the judge has basically taken away their defense?
Am I the only person in the world talking about attacking the timeline,
Do you have any idea what their defense is going to be, given the fact that the judge has basically taken away their defense?
Taken away their defense. Like, am I in crazy?
Challenge the timeline of the murders.
Talking about attacking the timeline.
The consensus has been challenge the timeline of the murders. Challenge the timeline of the murders.
Am I in crazy world? Hi guys. What's going on? Nice to see y'all again. Did everybody watch? Let's see. I watched Andrea. I caught a little bit of Lawyer Lee. I have to go back and finish the rest of that. Am I in Gacy world? How's everybody doing? We got all of our favorite people. Of course, we got woman doing a shadow band. Woman doing a shadow band. This light is gonna give me, oh my god. Woman doing a shadow band. It's her ska punk shadow band. Hey Carbon. Hey Jojo. Michael Miller. Thought you could get rid of me. Wahahaha. I would never. Hey Hoosier. Wait, where did it go? I'm all out of sorts. Fasting. Be careful. Dangerous. Dean Johnson. Hello, Dean Johnson. Ow. Heather Brown. Hello. My car died yesterday. No. Right on time. Hey, Ashley. Perpetual lurker here coming out of the shadows to say thank you. Hi, Ashley. Welcome. We love lurkers. We love it. We love you. Thank you for coming out of your lurk den to say hello to us. There was a hair in Abby's hand. There was. Hello, Weird Cat. How's it going? Judge Jessica, hello. Latrell, dirty dog. I wonder if we have a Latrell expert in the house and talk to us about what that dirty dog did. Even the weird stalker ones leave a little touch DNA. Jayo, perfect timing. I was getting bored. Well, welcome. Jessica is seated and sacked. Hi, Hoosier. I missed your live. I didn't get a notification. I don't ever get them. I think it's an iPad setting versus a YouTube setting. You know what I mean? How do I get this to stop making me feel like I'm having a stroke? I don't know if there's a way. Hey, Thomas Scott. Nice to see you. Delphi. Delphi is the center of the world. They sure think it is. Hey, Catastrophe. We got the whole crew in the house. Redneckzilla. I retweeted you the other day. I said, I know him. That's a great tweet. And I retweeted it. Oh, boom. He's digging in the couch. As is his right. He's earned it. He's, you know. Hi, Mandy. Wadong. Nice to see you. Love this remix. Attacking the timeline. Hi, the Royal We. Am I in crazy world? I'm sitting here with a female friend. She's intrigued with the case. I thought I'd let her listen to y'all's breakdown of today's events. I'm still catching up. Hello. Hello to you, Redneckzilla, Jeff, and Jeff's female friend. Boone. All right. I have a remote. I do have a remote control. You should see it. Lavish? I don't know about that. Oh boy. All right. I want to talk about DNA. So I don't know if y'all caught the live earlier. Am I freezing on the screen, on the stream? I hope not. You'll tell me if I am. There's Boone. I got a wolf behind me. Yeah, it's freezing. Can't tell if you're... All right, well. Not too bad. I wonder if I close this, if that will do anything. Let's see. All right. So I want to talk about DNA. So today we learned during voir dire that there was a strand or strands of hair found in Abigail's hand at the crime scene, in her hand. And I'm not going to go into too much detail, but Abigail was found. Obviously, she had been reclothed. I don't know. I have no idea what DNA stands for. I know it stands for something. I'm sure you know, though. Abigail was found redressed with her hands kind of like this at her chest, a little bit, laying on her back, kind of like that. So her hands were almost in fists. Ouch. Why? What's the matter? So that's interesting to me because it's not like her hands were at her side and it was like the way that it was described, at least, seems like it was in her hand, right? So make of that what you will. I have my own questions about it. But what it really brings up for me is the $20,000 that were spent on DNA testing that we heard about, and what became of that. Did they figure out whose DNA that was? Did they figure out, was it a complete profile? I mean, I got a lot of questions. Now, we do know that they tested a shit ton of people after the murders for DNA. Of the POIs, I know that they tested, let's see, Kagan Klein talked about having his DNA tested. Who else? Pat Westfall talked about having his DNA tested as recently as like 2023, I think. You think the camera's dying? I think it's just fuzzy. Pat Westfall talked about DNA. So there's 2 POIs. Who else? Who else do we know did they test DNA for, if anyone? We know that they requested Paul Etter's DNA. I think it was Paul Etter. It might have been Thomas Bruce, if anyone remembers. We talked about them recently. One of those 2 individuals died. Pat Westfall wouldn't lie, says Kiwi. We're going to talk about this too, woman. Hey, Glitched OTR, nice to see you. Welcome to my live. Genealogy testing. So one of the suspects, Paul Etter or Thomas Bruce, I don't remember, whichever one is dead. He died, self-inflicted gunshot wound after like a standoff with police. The task force did request his autopsy results and his DNA. So we know that they at least have some DNA. What's weird about it is that I wouldn't test those DNA tests, or I wouldn't trust those DNA tests. What is weird about it, I don't know why. I think it's probably a Wi-Fi thing, to be honest. I used to get scolded for my bad Wi-Fi by a third member of our clan. So I don't know what that means, but I'm very curious about the DNA testing that was done. I also want to go through the old articles I have saved. I also have some screenshots. I love a good screenshot. Just a, what is it called? Disclaimer. No implication or suggestion behind these screenshots. It's just sometimes it's helpful to go back in time and refresh our memory on what was going on back then. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'm so sorry. I don't need screenshots. I know what I said. I like that. I love that energy. Love it. Okay, BRB, y'all. I'm gonna be so fast. Don't go away. Oh, muted. All right, y'all. So let's see. Stop freezing music. Did they spend the money on mitochondrial testing, or is there a root on this hair? I don't know. I wish we knew. Hey, hairy balls. Permission to broadcast YouTube live without hearing. Let me know if it gets really bad. Because I don't know what I'll do. I'll do something. I don't know. Into the vault. We have So does anyone remember that interview with Jerry Holman, when he talks about, well, there's always DNA at a crime scene. Every crime scene, you got DNA. It's a matter of whose DNA is it. I don't know. Do you remember that? Anybody remember? That was a weird interview, right? This name kills me. Okay. Here we go. Back in 2018, I believe. Maybe it was 2017 as well. Hidden True Crime is a channel that belongs to a psychologist and a journalist. They are husband and wife, and they cover true crime cases, and I believe they're covering Delphi. That's all I'm going to say about it. Not Joe's channel that I know of. Yep. All right, let's go through some of these. They're going to be all out of order, but I remembered. So back in 2017, this is like way early on, even Becky Patty, grandmother of one of the victims, is asking, why have they taken DNA from so many people? So we've talked a little bit about like the online personalities and identities associated with the Delphi case. We've talked about the Hun bots and how some of those identities are likely, they're not who they say they are. It's the internet, it's social media. But obviously this is Becky, and this is one of the earlier Delphi murder groups. And she asked, this is still up, you can find it if you really want to. One thing that so Becky would do this a lot. There were a couple other accounts like that. Rebecca Lynn Dunaway account would ask this a lot. There's a couple other ones that they almost seem, and this might be conspiratorial, it almost seems like they have some kind of coaching or training, or they've been given like a set of best practices by perhaps law enforcement as to how to elicit information or public participation or public commentary in helping them with information gathering, right, to perhaps help solve the crime. That's just a theory, because there were very specific questions that they would ask in very particular ways. They would never outright say, oh, they have DNA. They would never outright say, they were always framed in the form of a question, if that makes sense. They have been coached. Yeah, I believe this is true. Homicide training after murders. I believe so. Now, I'm not saying they've necessarily deputized family, but they seem to have kind of deputized family and certain online groups and communities. DB says Hidden True Crime was tripping. They were. And then I was like, oh, that's disappointing, because like they've had some good takes on true crime cases that I've followed lately in the past. But then I remember that they went and they spent about 5 hours analyzing the like 15-year-old posts of Brian Koberger on a page where he was having some like visual. And I was just like, it was just like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? So anyway, Becky Patty asked December 28th, 2017, why have they taken DNA from so many people? I think I mentioned to y'all a couple of days ago, I had a really good conversation with a local source who also said, if you were between the ages of 20 and 50 and you were between the, 5'6" and 6 foot, white male, local, they were calling you in and they were taking your DNA swab. At least, and I think he said thousands. Maybe that's true. I know there were a lot. So obviously they're doing this. They're collecting DNA from men. I know that they've collected DNA from a couple of women. I don't know who. I'm not, but I don't know where the results of those DNA tests are. We just know that they test a lot of people. And Becky seemed to wonder too. Let's see. So that was December 28th. And then on the same day, Becky asked, I don't know if y'all can see this. Can you be arrested with only DNA evidence? I don't know the answer to this. I'm thinking that probably, at least it's a pretty good piece of direct evidence. Tickling the wire. Is that what it's called, DB? It sounds like it. It's trying to maybe like shake something loose, right? This is a great way to say it. I hope they pay attention. I hope they keep an open mind. Me too. I think they're new to the case. This is hidden true crime. They're smart, but are way down an unproductive path. I think so. Can you be arrested with only DNA evidence? And then group members kind of chime in, yes. We are praying for your families. They say they do have DNA, just not enough to rule anyone in or out at this point. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. But who knows what? I mean, the public at the time had really limited information. I'm thinking they must not have DNA or they haven't tested all the suspects. I read that Daniel Nations was cleared when his DNA was tested, so that's one down. How many to go? Absolutely on DNA. It's up to the state to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt to jurors. As long as law enforcement holds back that they know things but cannot convict, it will come down to one person getting the money to convict the killer. I don't know what that means, Charles, but it's a good thought. So if it's all the same to you, let's see. So this is now May, about 6 months later. Again, Grandma. The Golden State Killer was found using non-governmental DNA database. It's legal in 12 states. There's no legislation allowing it in Indiana. Now, I don't think this is true. Now, legislation, maybe like there was no statewide legislation allowing it, but we know that it wasn't April Tinsley. What case was it that they did solve with genetic genealogy prior to this? So I think it has to do with funding. I don't know. Obviously, it's expensive to do genetic genealogies or DNA testing. I don't know what kind. I'm sure DB or someone else knows way more about it than I do. I just know it's expensive. The Golden State Killer was found using non-governmental DNA database. It is legal in 12 states. There's no legislation allowing it in Indiana. I think we should all contact our state representatives and senators asking them to pass legislation allowing it to use these resources. Here's the representative, blah, blah, blah. So they're all kind of talking about how they're going to mobilize and get a petition or something going. I'm asking all my Indiana friends, contact your local state reps and let them know you want familial DNA bill law passed to assist in catching and convicting monsters that commit terrible crimes. A similar bill was presented in 2014 and defeated. I need everyone's help. Here's a link so you can look up your representatives. Okay. (2018). They're just more of the same. This is interesting to me. A couple of the comments on this post say, well, they say everyone's a suspect, got to get everyone's DNA to catch BG. BG might not be guilty. Charles, you're so right. How do we know BG is the guy? I'm with Charles. All right. These are just more comments on the same post. Rebecca Lynn Dunaway, whoever you are. DNA says, I was there. I would think so. I think this is in response to the question about, can you be convicted with just DNA? As long as the chain of custody was not compromised in any way. Yes. Oh, I did not even realize this. Okay. More questions. So again, a lot of these posts are framed in an interesting way. Why have they taken DNA from so many people? And then the same day, Becky was very inquisitive this day. Now, granted, if I were a family member of a victim and I was wanting, and it was, the crime to be solved, and I'd be inquisitive too. I'm not assigning any meaning to this, but did or did not, law enforcement stated that the bridge guy sketch does not have blue eyes. And why do you think that is? Okay, well, we know that Kim Riley says, the witness said, definitely no blue eyes. So that's interesting. Why do you think that is? Again, eliciting information, eliciting commentary, eliciting feedback. Could be. More comments on that post. Rebecca Lynn Dunaway says, only 2% of the population on Earth has red hair. And then there's a Cosmopolitan article linked. I believe both parents must carry the blue recessive gene in order to create blue-eyed child. Perhaps blue-eyed suspect can be eliminated through some sort of test for recessive genes. Sorry if that's already been mentioned. My parents had blue and one green eyes. I think the blue eyes is more dominant. Blue is dominant. I'm convinced the exclusion of blue eyes was the result of DNA phenotyping. So this was in 2018. So obviously I don't believe that they had done any extensive DNA testing at the time. But maybe they had. There is also a DNA test that can be done to eliminate blue eyes. Maybe that's how they determined they weren't blue. We did in college. I wasn't anything great, but we saw how it all worked, sorta. So this is just people trying to, talking about stuff. 2 days after the other post about legislation, Becky continues. So it seems like the family is being fed bullshit, in my opinion. I believe that law enforcement was feeding the family, at least the family of Libby, a bunch of fucking bullshit about why they could or couldn't test the DNA, or about what barriers were standing in the way of them testing DNA, feeding the family all this nonsense about legislative red tape. Meanwhile, we know that that's just ridiculous. However, the family seems to have been behind this kind of very, short-lived initiative to get a bill passed for DNA, even though that it was not necessary. They could have just paid for the test, if I'm not mistaken, through a private lab. And I know CeCe Moore at some point was consulted. Maybe she even helped eventually. I don't know. We'll get into that a little bit. More about this. Pat Brown. Okay. I feel like I had more. I know Kelsey tweeted a little bit about DNA. We'll get into this sketch. Okay. Paul Holes tweeted. And the link that was here was a Delphi case article. Paul Holes said, yes, ISP solved a cold case with CeCe Moore and Parabon. So desperately want to work this case. Both law enforcement and the victims' families would need to want me involved. Please pay attention to this plea. And somebody tagged Kelsey German in that tweet. And Kelsey said, I know family does want him involved. I can make some law enforcement phone calls. November 2019. So Kelsey is like, yeah, let me talk to our investigators. Same day, she's tagging ISP Peru, ISP Lafayette. We know that ISP Peru is Detective Vito, I believe, at the time. ISP Lafayette is Detective Holman. Okay, guys, look. Paul Holes wants to help us. I would love to get Paul Holes on our case. Just got to see if law enforcement agrees. This kind of makes me sad. Everyone, please mention Indiana State Police and ISP Lafayette on Paul Holes' post. Make sure they see it. I'm sure they did see it. It's very possible that a parent has an idea. I'm wondering about a comment superintendent made about being onto something early on. I think they have an idea if it's not usable DNA to exactly match their suspect. Kelsey says, I'm sure they have an idea. Something that Carter says to me often. We know a lot. Okay, Riddler. Fucking creep. Two days later. I cannot say this enough. A sketch is not an image. The person that killed Abby and Libby does not look identical to either sketch, but will likely have characteristics from both. He may lean more towards number 2, but please don't completely forget sketch number 1. Hey? Confusing. Could it be 2 different people, or are you saying it's just one? It's one person, a mix of the 2 sketches. Not according to Nick McClelland today. Has law enforcement publicly said it's one person specifically? Recently, they seem pretty unsure. A month after the initial Paul Holes tweet. This needs to be solved, period. Kelsey says, what he said. Jen asks, is the FBI involved? And Kelsey says, not as much as in the beginning, but yes. We know that to be true. They were more involved in the beginning. Thomas. That's good. At least they have used those resources. I know that they can probably do more. Kelsey says they are using all the resources available to them at this time. So it sounds like Kelsey got clapped. It sounds like Kelsey was doing a lot of advocacy on the internet, putting a little bit of pressure on the police. We'd love to see it. And for some reason, got stopped. We have brought the topic up to law enforcement. He's not currently working on our case, meaning Paul Holes. A month later, are there any events or podcasts, other media you'd like to see feature the girls in 2020, looking for new ways to spread the story? Is Paul Holes working on the case? Our investigative team is not requesting Paul Holes to help at this time, maybe in the future. Don't worry, though. I keep mentioning his name to them. I'm sure they really appreciated her doing that. Yeah, she seems deflated. We love pressure. We love persistence. And it seems like Kelsey really, for some reason, Becky too, even with her posts about DNA back in the day. Did a lawyer tell her to stop talking? I don't know. That's another possibility. But they definitely do push off anyone who wanted to help. And it seems like they've been lying to everybody, even the family. That's my opinion. We already read that one. I think that's all the ones I wanted to share about DNA. Very, very interesting, I think. I started a blog series called Letters to Libby. I'll be sharing my feelings, stories, and memories of my sister. I don't know whatever happened to that. I'm sure that was a really hard undertaking, so I'm not judging it, but I don't believe that she ended up doing that. Deflated, like not full of excitement or energy. Yeah, kind of like a year ago, the first sketch, old guy sketch was released. I ask you to take a minute and look at it, but then look at the guy crossing the bridge without thinking of the sketch. If you think you know the guy on the bridge, but with a different face, turn it in. What does that mean? Doggy! The result of new information and intelligence over time leads us to believe that the sketch, which you will see shortly, is the person responsible for the murders of these 2 little girls. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there was a part in this press conference, if not like right here at some point in the press conference, where he says that this is the person on the bridge, like the sketch is the person on the bridge. But I can't remember. I'll have to go look. I can't believe they haven't caught this guy yet. I agree. We need to convince law enforcement to do familial DNA testing. She says, look, they did it in Fort Wayne. We've just got to keep pushing. I don't know what case she's referring to, but obviously it was a cold case that they did. And we're back to the beginning. Okay. So, thoughts? It kind of seems like to me, so I know Kelsey was like she was studying forensics and she was going to school to be I don't know, some kind of an investigator. She was studying forensics. And again, as a victim as a sister of a homicide victim, like, let's watch it together. We'll just watch a short clip of it. Removes drape from suspect sketch. And then he goes, you can't see my hand. He points. He says, I just unveiled a person we believe responsible for the murders. Okay, so the sketch is the bridge guy because the bridge guy is the killer. So the sketch is the killer. A plus B equals C. What are we missing, y'all? It seems like we're missing something. Are we a bunch of dummies? What's going on? Why does this feel so complicated? Nick McClelland doesn't want to confuse the jury. I'm very confused. Aha. Oops. I've just asked an admin of a Delphi group. They've only confirmed a partial profile in the DNA from a law enforcement officer. I was just wondering if I had missed something. I know I follow this closely. I wasn't being rude. I was just curious. There's actually an article where the sheriff says there's some DNA in a partial fingerprint. That's true. We are missing. The sad thing is even the brightest people end up giving up on their dreams based on the exhaustion of life. Good point, TB. Damn. Okay. Hey, Lana. Hey, Heather, Woman, and Thomas. So many articles have just disappeared. We know this. I think that I showed you all of these. Mm-hmm. Hi, Shay.
Why? Information is being released today is the result of literally thousands and thousands of hours of extraordinary investigative efforts by Delphi, Carroll County, the FBI, the Indiana State Police, and countless other agencies. This community surrounded us some 26 months ago, and you did everything you could to support us, but most importantly, you surrounded the family of these two little girls. Gosh, I'll never forget it. After you hear what we're going to release today, I'm going to ask for your continued support, your continued stand, your empathy and compassion as we move forward to find out who did this, and we will. We're seeking the public's help to identify the driver of a vehicle that was parked at the old CPS DCS welfare building in the city of Delphi that was abandoned on the east side of County Road 300 North next to the Hoosier Heartland Highway between the hours of noon to 5 on February 14th, 2017. If you were parked there or know who was parked there, please contact the officers at the command post at the Delphi City building. We are releasing additional portions of the audio recording from that day. Please keep in mind, the person talking is one person and is the person on the bridge with the girls. This is not two different people speaking. Please listen to it very, very carefully. We are also releasing video recovered from Libby's phone. This video has never before been previously released. The video shows a suspect walking on the bridge. When you see the video, watch the person's mannerisms as they walk. Watch them.
Something that always bothered me, dots connected, now let's unconnect the dots. Something that always bothered me about this is that he stopped short of calling him a suspect here, and I don't know why. And maybe it was nothing, because this guy is let's be real, he's a spazzy weirdo. But also look at where these police vehicles are parked. This is the private drive. I mean, that we could do a whole helicopter footage thing. I don't want to do it. Never before been previously released. Oh my God. So listen to this part.
When you see the video, watch the person's mannerisms as they walk. Watch the mannerisms as he walks. Do you recognize the mannerisms as being someone that you might know? Remember, he is walking on the former railroad bridge. Because of the deteriorated condition of the bridge, the suspect is not walking naturally due to the spacing between the ties. During the course of this investigation, we have concluded the first sketch released will become secondary as of today. The result of the new information and intelligence over time leads us to believe the sketch, which you will see shortly, is the person responsible for the murders of these two little girls. We also believe this person is from Delphi, currently or has previously lived here, visits Delphi on a regular basis, or works here. We believe this person is currently between the age range of 18 and 40, but might appear younger than his true age. Directly to the killer, who may be in this room. We believe you are hiding in plain sight. For more than 2 years, you never thought we would shift gears to a different investigative strategy, but we have. We likely have interviewed you or someone close to you. We know that this is about power to you. And you want to know what we know. And one day, you will. A question to you. What will those closest to you think of when they find out that you brutally murdered two little girls? Two children. Only a coward would do such a thing. We are confident that you have told someone what you have done. Or at the very least, they know.
We're confident you told somebody. Or at the very least, somebody knows. Okay, so, I have it memorized. And then I forget I have it memorized, and once I start hearing it, I'm like, God damn it. So embarrassing.
Because of how different you are since the murders. We try so hard to understand how a person could do something like this to two children. I recently watched a movie called The Shack. And there's also a book that talks so well about evil, about death, and about eternity. To the murderer, I believe you have just a little bit of a conscience left.
Why would he think that? Why would you think that the brutal psychopathic murderer would have a little conscience left? It's like the same thing as Holman when he's interrogating Rick Allen, being like, I don't think you're a bad person. And Rick Allen's like, what? You just told me I killed 2 kids. What kind of fucking good person kills 2 kids? Like, they don't make any fucking sense. They're so disingenuous. Because he did a stick, and that's undoing. God, this is crazy.
And I can assure you that how you left them in that woods is not what they're experiencing today.
So, remember that video I showed y'all? It's on my channel. I think it's called Exculpatory. There's a picture of Nick, coke dealer hair, slicked back in a chair, and he's like, ugh. I think it's on the R&M channel. But if you watch it, at one point, there's a part where Nick is talking about expenses that they've incurred, and it's like 2019 or 2020, which kind of lines up. But he's like, yeah, so we just, we're doing a lot of things for investigative measures, training law enforcement. We just put all our law enforcement through a training on the Reed technique. He said it's a technique for questioning suspects and witnesses. That bothers me. The Reed technique is not. If you're questioning a witness with the Reed technique, that's a really good way to turn your witness into a fucking suspect, isn't it? You fucking idiots. Am I being readed? Yeah, he literally says it. It's a great way. He says, Dat Woods. He does say it. The way you left him in Dat Woods. This is insensitive. Guess what? These guys are fucking clowns. There is not a thing that is said here tonight with all of y'all that is even remotely as fucking insulting as this investigation has been. I'm sorry. This is some bullshit. Yeah, it's for questioning suspects, witnesses, and all the attendees and viewers of this press conference. Jesus. Okay, sorry. Just had to say that. Reed technique. It does seem that way.
To the family.
This is histrionic, by the way. This is histrionics.
I hope that you all will give them some time, because we're going to be asking that there's no media inquiry or no media response for at least the next 2 weeks. And I hope you understand why.
No.
The family found out about this information this morning.
The family found out about this information this morning. Look at them. They look fucked up, toe up from the flow up. Look at this group of people. Carrie looks like she's about to have a fucking meltdown. She is having a meltdown. Becky's she has cancer. She's mid chemo treatment here. You've got Mrs. Erskine, Mrs. Williams. You got, I think that's Brad. I think this is Brad German, grandpa, or great grandpa. I don't know who it is, but like, what the fuck are you doing to these people, man? You're playing Riddler with their lives. And the public is villainized. He's so full of shit. Yeah, Raphael says it's hard to believe that over 25 law enforcement agents worked on this case given how messed up it is. Don't ask us questions. Sir, you have a fucking... We want 2 weeks of media blackout after we release this. Why? So that you don't have to clarify any of your riddle? Cool. Wait, but then Kim Riley fucked up and he did try and clarify the riddle. He's the worst public information officer of all time. Because he's like, he knows too much and he's like kind of just like too honest. He's just gonna be like, tell it like it is. Yeah, the witness was a chick. That's not good. Yeah, these are supposed to be 2 different people. That's not good. And he blames the family. Please give the family 2 weeks. Like, the family's like, we just found out about this. Like, what if we have questions? Oh my God, it makes me sick to my stomach. It's so embarrassing.
I just want the family to know that when I take my last breath on this earth, I'll be thinking of them.
That's weird. Don't.
There's going to be a tremendous amount of questions. I know that. I know that.
But don't ask us.
Never in my career have I stood in front of something like this. Please be patient with us. We're just beginning. We are just beginning.
We're just beginning.
And I can tell you on behalf of the sheriff and the police chief.
We're just beginning. You're just beginning? Huh? Oh, wait. DB, I know how to do this. I know how to do a thing. Hold on. I'm going to do a thing. Wait. Where is it? Where is it? TV, where's the planet? Okay, well, I can't find it. Is that true? I mean, I'm not saying it's not true, but like that's weird. How does he refer to the shack movie? I've watched The Shack and read the book. The word shack describes a small shelter or dwelling. Wasn't there an old rundown camp in the area? There were so many shacks and outbuildings around. It could mean something, it could mean nothing. It could be cryptic. Doug's counting his tentacles before bed. My goodness.
So many other partners that have stood with us over this period of time that we will not stop.
And then he leaves. And then they're like, don't ask us any questions. He leaves. Holman shoots up and follows him right out.
I just unveiled the person that we believe responsible for the murder of these 2 little girls.
Okay.
So I invite media to take a look at that now. It's not up.
It's not up.
Kim.
Kim, come on, Kim, look alive, dude. Look alive. Get it together.
We're also going to show you a video not previously released that superintendent spoke to, and also the audio that's additional to what's been previously released. It's only a slight change in it. So give Sergeant Riley just a second as he gets that up and ready. Stand by for the video, please. There is no sound of the video. As Superintendent Carter mentioned, he is on the railway bridge. You have to take different steps to get to it. This information later this afternoon will be on the State Police website. For the community that's here, we have 100 copies of the news release. If you put in that URL, you'll be able to get to that site to play it. And we also have that same release for you in the media. And the rest of the state will get that release in about 15 minutes. So we appreciate those of you that came here. This concludes our announcement. Thank you for your time, patience, and courtesy.
Doug Carter, and he is.
Okay. I don't even know, dude, what to make of that, but
was there DNA evidence found?
Here it is. This fucking guy. Desk files. Oh, on the ISPs. Yeah, I like went down a rabbit hole where I was like looking. I was like, oh my god, maybe there's an answer on their desktop. They didn't know shit. They didn't have shit on their desktop. I'll see this. No, we can't see it, Ange. None of it matters now. Sketches are obsolete. It's all they had for years, and now it's like, nah, forget it. Forget about it. All right, Alexis, what we got? Wait, fuck. Why does it keep doing that? Why?
You have, you're going to have DNA.
Oh
We're still.
Was there DNA evidence found at the scene of the crime?
I think at every crime scene you have, you're going to have DNA. We're still working on identifying whose all DNA we have there.
Whose all DNA we have?
Every crime scene you have, you're going to have DNA. We're still working on identifying whose all DNA we have there.
Huh? I had a longer one though. I swear. It was like way longer. Here it is. Oh.
Colorado.
Man.
Tonight, police are still actively searching for the suspect or suspects.
So she's screaming at me. Alexis McAdams had some really good reporting. I feel like all the really good reporters left the Delphi case. Here he is. Is Jerry Holman just the biggest liar on the planet? Yes or no? Oops. God, I suck at this. Okay, sure. Looking good, Jerome.
There's some others, they released a portion of it. There's some others that we think could help us. But again, protecting the integrity of the investigation is key here. So we can't release everything we have because there's only certain people that know the details. And if we release everything, then we get into possible false confession,
Why does he do that?
Release everything.
Look at it.
We get into possible false confession.
Yeah, you were banking on it, weren't you, Jerome? One in the chat for yes. What was the question? Oh, yeah, right. I asked if he's the biggest liar on the planet. And he is! I really want to find this one video, though. If I can't find it, then I'll just let it go. However, Oh, this is a fun video. Let's just watch it because I know that Nick McClellan would hate it if we did. Let's just watch this video of our prosecutor. Looks great. Looks great. Sounds great. He's really glad that this video exists on the internet in perpetuity forever.
How did you prepare yourself to take over the Delphi case?
What I did is I called a meeting of everybody, and I went over, and when I say everybody, ISP, Tobe Lesenby, Delphi Police, Mr. Bean, the deputy prosecutor, and wanted them to give me a summary of the evidence and what they have, just to get a new set of eyes on it. And I'm not here to criticize what ISP is doing, what local law enforcement is doing. I want to be a support for them. So I just want to be a new set of eyes to look at things, to say, hey, did we look at this? Did we look, take this angle? And so I didn't come into it thinking, hey, I can do this better or that better. I just want a new set of eyes to look at stuff. And I want to be a support for them because they're the investigators and they do a great job. And so I want to do whatever I can to support them. And I think, like we talked about, the way I do that is helping them with subpoenas, search warrants, if we have probable cause for those things, and doing that side of the investigation to help them out.
So far as prosecutor, have you had to sign off on search warrants or subpoenas for the Delphi case?
Right now, in the past 30 days, is all I've been dealing with, subpoenas. Mm-hmm.
Here we are 1 year later. Do you feel like the police are getting any closer?
The people that we have working on it, both local law enforcement and ISC, are great, fantastic investigators. And so they're really down in the ditches, doing the hard work, collecting the evidence. And I feel confident that they're going to do a good job and make my job easier, right? If they give me the evidence to support a conviction, that makes my job easier. So yeah, I feel confident I can handle the case. I'm just hoping that we get an arrest and have the evidence to support that arrest. That's what I'm looking for now.
I'm muted. Thanks, Dougie. Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks, Thomas. Ugh. I probably needed to be muted right then. I'm not sharing now. My functioning declines exponentially after like 9 o'clock at night. So here we go. Motherfucker. Here we go. Why won't it let me put the volume up?
A suspect profile to help identify the killer of those two girls you just saw.
They hope that profile will help police bring Libby German and Abby Williams' killer to justice. Thanks for joining us tonight live at 5. I'm Dean Spiegler.
And I'm Fanchen Stinger. It is the big story right now. We are also learning more about key evidence found at the crime scene.
Fox 9's Alexis McAdams has been covering this case from the start. She's live with more tonight on what we're learning now. Alexis?
Dan Fanchen, that's right. This is all new and exclusive information that we're bringing to you right now. We just talked with the superintendent, Doug Carter of Indiana State Police. He tells us he's confident getting much closer to finding Abby and Libby's killer, and investigators are still working around the clock tonight. But we just learned from the superintendent that they have recovered a very important piece of evidence from the crime scene that is linked to the killer. That's the first time we're hearing any of the information about what was found at the crime scene. And also, this is an active and ongoing investigation, but with that key evidence and a suspect profile, police tell us they're getting closer every day to that killer. And they want him to know that. Right now, they're still going after him with the mindset that he could very well be a local. Now, the FBI profile that is in the works right now will give police a better idea of who exactly they are looking for, because they do have that voice and they do have that grainy photo, but this looks at behavioral aspects of that person. So behavioral analysts from the FBI can identify certain personality traits, behavioral traits, and lifestyle things that the suspect would have. All of that information then gives police clues to what kind of things they can be looking for when they're serving those search warrants here in Carroll County and around central Indiana. Now, we talked exclusively to Superintendent of Indiana State Police Doug Carter tonight. He tells us that they have several pieces and parts, but they're still looking for that one piece of evidence or tip that's going to crack this case.
I know that we have the human element. We have a very solid science element. We're using every capable process that we have from a scientific perspective, as everyone would expect us to, and we will continue to do that until there's nothing left to do.
Would that include DNA?
It does.
Was DNA found at the scene?
It includes DNA.
We haven't ruled out the possibility that it's a local person. Every time we can clear somebody, it gets us closer, where we're confident that somewhere in these tips that we have some valuable information. Every time we can eliminate one, we can move on to the next.
Now, family members will be speaking to us for the very first time here in Delphi tomorrow, and investigators are hoping that when the grandpa, it's Libby's grandpa that's going to be speaking to us, when he talks and people see that in the community, that somebody who may be holding back information will hear their plea. Obviously, it's going to be a very emotional time for the family, and maybe that will be the connection that somebody needs to give these police a break in the case. So maybe if they are withholding information, when they hear Libby's grandpa talk tomorrow, that's going to be the key to getting them to speak out. Obviously, those tips keep coming in. The reward keeps on growing. But police, once again, asking anyone who recognizes that man in the picture to please come forward. Reporting live.
I just don't understand why they think that Mike Patty speaking out for the first time would get people to start tipping shit in. Like, they just it's like they just use emotions to, like, I don't know, man, it doesn't matter. Who cares? I mean, I care, but I can't even purport to understand why for did things in this case. Like, they truly were just shooting in the dark. It's, like, so sad.
Every single day, we're pushing forward, talking to Indiana State Police to try and find new information on the Delphi investigation. This week, they released this composite sketch of the suspect they say killed Abby Williams and Limine German in February. Tonight, Indiana State Police are giving us a little bit more information on the case. They tell us that since this all started more than 5.5 months ago, they've interviewed and processed more than 1,000 people in connection to this investigation. That means that if someone's name came up in a tip, they were told that somebody might have been in the area. They went out, interviewed those people, asked them for an alibi. Once that issue was over with, then they'd ask them for a voluntary DNA sample. If those people didn't comply, that's when investigators try to get probable cause to get that DNA sample. Tonight, Indiana State Police tells me that out of those more than 1,000 people they've interviewed and processed, most of them, they can't give me an exact number, but they say most of those people did give a voluntary DNA sample. So those are all things being used currently in this investigation. Now that this composite sketch has been released and more people are saying that possibly they recognize this person, know of his whereabouts, that's when investigators go back through and re-interview some people and try to establish new information in this case. And that composite is the most recent information we've had, because we only had the blurry photo that Libby had taken on her cell phone when she videotaped it on her front part of her smartphone over her shoulder as that suspect was reportedly coming towards them on the Delphi Historic Trail. So this is the guy they're looking for still. And if you can help them in any way, please take a look at this picture. They say he's between 5'6" and 5'10", has reddish brown hair, some facial hair you can see. And in terms of his eye color, somebody who saw this guy out on the trails that day say it was not a blue eye color, but a darker color. They couldn't give an exact color at that point. But even without an eye color, this is a pretty good composite. This is developed by the FBI. They worked on this for a long time, as investigators told us. This didn't just happen overnight. Now, since they worked so hard on this, I need you to take a look at it. Print it out. Put it on your Facebook page.
Okay. Oops, wrong one.
for their killer is still happening. Now the girls' families are pushing forward on their own to spread the word about the investigation and get the suspect's picture spread around the country. Our Alexis McAdams joins us with more on what they're doing. Alexis.
That's right, Frank. Like you mentioned, 7 months, which is hard to believe. And these families are saying that they'd rather have more information right now on the suspect than they do. But that's why they're not going to sit back anymore. They're going to continue to work with police and now hand out thousands of flyers with the suspect's face, working to cover the entire United States with his picture. So right now, the family is working to send out dozens of flyers to different cities and states around the United States. Each packet they send, they tell me, contains about a dozen or more flyers with the suspect's picture, also a picture of Abby and Libby, and that tip line number. The family is asking that volunteers in those areas who actually have contacted them via social media post that information in public places. Right now, people in at least a dozen states have sent photos of where they're posting this information, including truck stops, soup kitchens, and more, just trying to get the word out about the case. And the Patties tell me they actually started this campaign on their own when they found out that some people just a few counties away in central Indiana had never heard of the Delphi investigation. So the goal is to continue working with law enforcement and get this picture out to those who might not use social media and are not aware of this investigation or.
Oops.
I mean, I'll spend every day of my life, trying to catch this guy.
And we're asking everybody all over the United States to help us. We want to cover the whole U.S. with this picture, that he can't go into a town that there's not a flyer staring him in the face.
And right now they are printing these flyers at their home in Delphi, and other people are printing them in Carroll County just at their own home computers. But they're looking to team up with a printing company, somebody that has enough paper and resources to push these flyers out at a much faster pace. If you're interested, send me an email.
The witnesses who assisted in the preparation of composite sketches of the bridge guy would testify that they did not see the person depicted in their sketch for a sufficient length of time to allow them to positively identify the defendant. Therefore, the composite sketches are not relevant evidence. If the court were to consider the sketches relevant, the probative value is substantially outweighed by the unfair prejudice, confusing the issues and misleading the jury. It should therefore be excluded. A composite sketch is just the police artist's interpretation of someone else's description. The composite sketches are hearsay or double hearsay. The state believes the defense intends to use the sketches from the investigation as evidence for impeachment purposes. The witnesses who participated in the preparation of the composites are not being called to provide in-court identification of the accused. Further, no composite sketch was instrumental in identifying Richard Allen as a suspect. No composite sketch was instrumental in identifying Richard Allen as a suspect. These sketches were fucking useless. Because when Betsy Blair gave her description of the suspect that she saw on the bridge right in front of her, got a good look of him, and they drew young guy's sketch with poofy hair, and she said that is a 10 out of 10 of who I saw on the bridge. And yet, no composite sketch was instrumental in identifying Richard Allen as a suspect. Cool. That probably feels really good for the fucking people of Delphi and the family who spent how much of their own time and money and resources. Hey, Post-Punk DB, looking good.
Hello there.
Hi.
Do you think the Indiana State Police has the ability to print or purchase paper?
Not here, apparently.
That's interesting.
Why wouldn't they, do you think?
Well, I don't know. They're all about flooding the tip line, so you would think that they would want those posters everywhere.
I know. They didn't, though. It seems like the family was leading that initiative. on their
ISP
own.
prank. Muazadang. Or no, is that Mudang?
This DB is way hot.
I see. This is a tribute to a fan that just is very special and very artistic. I thought, this art is just incredible that they did. The least I could do is, do my own autistic version of art where there's one specific character that I have a picture of that I dress up in little outfits. I wanted a Barbie doll as a kid, but my mom would.
Uh-oh.
Oops, sorry, I'm back. Ugh. I got a call from my
We lost
publicist. No, my publicist just told me not to talk about that story. No, this is not slime. I'll
No?
post my DV.
Okay. DB, what do you think the deal is with these sketches?
I think they're sketchy, dude.
Yeah, me too. I'd be really mad if I were a family member. So, okay. I feel like
Uncross your arms. Oh, I'm sorry.
I
Man. I was supposed to be out of better. I'm supposed to be more chilled now, dude. About that. I lasted
you
15
can't ask.
seconds.
That'd be like asking a fish to climb a tree, my dear. You are what you are. I have a theory that for some reason, like, Punk is a little. She's like, I'm a little high and I'm dead.
Oh my God, she's dead. Somebody resuscitate her.
Have we confirmed Diener is Diener's stepmom? No, I haven't. I that's just what I've heard that Stacy Diener married somebody in Judge Diener's family. I don't know if it was his dad or. Do you think the family will speak out now, even though they're under the gag order, Ange? No. I mean, speak out. I mean, they've been speaking out. Have they stopped?
I don't know. It's really sad. Like, whenever I think about the fuck ups, I literally feel bad for the family. Like,
yeah, I
wonder what they thought. Like, there in 2019, did they just trust them? Because also you got to consider that Ives. What year did Ives leave?
He left before 2017 concluded. So he announced his retirement in like early November and was gone by the end of the year of 2017.
Okay.
So pretty early.
It just seems like they kind of went through a transition, and then with Holman, not corrections officer Holman, all right, Harshman, sorry, this is like that. But it seems like they went through a transition with the lead investigator too. Like, but you think about the lead investigator in a case like this is supposed to be kind of the point of contact for the family too.
Oh, okay.
If they don't have a liaison like a real agency does, a victim's rights liaison would be the best practice, I think, in today's age. So do you agree with that?
So no,
I know you have some experience in this.
I don't know if that's generally that you're probably right. That's generally how it's done. But that's not like at all. I think that is how it's done. If there's no victim advocate or social worker or whatever, then I imagine that somebody in the prosecutor's office or somebody with the lead investigator would be their point of contact. But that's not best practice at all. Unfortunately, I think that's just how they do it a lot. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But you think it would be better to have a social worker?
Yeah, victim advocate of some kind, somebody who's not a cop, who's not investigating the murder or the crime. Yeah, they need to be.
I don't know much. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
I don't know much about the Harper gentleman, but I have to imagine that anybody is a little bit less prickly than Jerry Holman.
You mean like Jay Harper?
Jay Harper, yeah.
Yeah, I've talked to Jay Harper one time. I found him to be folksy, kind of disinterested, but folksy, nice enough. Not super helpful. It was like I was kind of doing like information gathering for, my research at the time.
Whatever.
Didn't realize that was a useless call, but he wasn't super helpful. He wasn't super dismissive. He just seemed, I had as much information when I got off the phone with him as I did when I got on the phone with him. So, when Matt Sullivan and I asked Ives, do you have a victim advocate in Carroll County? He said, no, Carroll County's so small, we don't need one because the family, because the families can just pick up the phone and call the prosecutor directly. So it seems as though the prosecutor,
Oh my God.
verbatim, the family can pick up the phone and call the prosecutor's office directly and get in touch with the prosecutor's office, is what he said. So it sounds like they are utilizing the prosecutor, which is like, okay, but the prosecutor's office in like a larger county or something usually has a victim's rights or a victim advocate within the prosecutor's office. That's not to say that they're a separate entity from the prosecutor, but I don't know.
But you were a social worker for a police department at one time, right?
For years, yeah.
Yeah. It's probably a tough gig.
It's tough. It's a tough gig, yeah. And I think what made it tough. I mean, yeah, no, it was tough.
Because you're like the human representation of a system.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of times you're having to balance so if you're a victim advocate or a liaison or somebody who's not a cop or prosecutor, you're representing the victim, your loyalty, I guess, or your priority is that the victim and their wellness and their safety and all of that, they're them being supported. But a lot of times you have law enforcement in your face, in your ear, telling you how to do your job. And a lot of times I would have victims that were being investigated for crimes. So the police see them as suspects or perpetrators. I see them as victims because they're both, I guess. So you have to kind of balance, you have to kind of buck against law enforcement to do that job effectively and to do it well. And I don't think that Carroll County is used to anybody bucking against law enforcement, much less I don't know.
Well, if I know anything about you, is that you were born to buck.
I do buck.
Yeah, so that's probably a stressful for somebody with that personality type, probably stressful, but the better you do at the job, the worse the police think you're doing.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think you get to a point where they see that it's that it's effective,
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's ways to do it well. I think the way that you do it well is you have really good boundaries. You have really strong, really firm boundaries. And that's something that's just lacking in Carroll County. That it's so incestuous. There's no parameters around whose role is what. The family is basically running the investigation. Honestly, it's what it seems like. And that's not a job that they're equipped to do. I think that they're doing it because they probably feel because the police are not running it. They're not doing anything. Right. So yeah, I mean, the family's going to take over. But that's a problem because
it is.
For them. For them, because they're not equipped to do that. That clip of the press conference in 2019, he said the family just learned about this morning. Even the way that they're conducting this trial, DB, you're forcing a select few number of the family to sit in the room with Mr. Allen. It doesn't matter if we believe he's guilty or innocent. They believe, or at least they're hoping in their mind's eye, he's responsible, and they have to sit in a room with him. What if they want to watch, but they don't want to be in a room with him? What if they want to watch, but they don't want to be exposed to the media? What if they want to watch, but they have a chronic health? They don't give a shit.
What if they have type 1 diabetes, Judge?
Right. Yeah.
Did you hear about that?
I did. The juror.
There was a juror that was like, I can't participate in your trial, lady.
Because you don't let me get a break.
Medical condition.
Dude, he probably went home last night and had a fucking his insulin.
Episode.
Yeah, he probably had a sugar crack or whatever it is. She's crazy. She's
That's
awful.
Just so inconsiderate.
All of it.
That is I can't think of a better word than inconsiderate. Like unable to see other potential situations that could arise for other people.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
She's killed before, Judge Gull.
Let's talk about Fortson.
Oh yeah, I mean,
well, Andrea said something earlier in her stream. She was talking about how at the end of the day, bailiff came in or an officer came in. I don't know if you caught this part, and kind of scolded them and was like, if we find out that anybody has approached anyone who is on the any jury members or potential jury members, you're going to have to explain that to her, and like pointed to Judge, or not her, but like you're going to have to explain that to Judge Gull. Like that was the threat. The threat was that you're going to have to talk to Judge Gull, and they know what she's like, and they know that she's scary, and that's the punishment, is that like, don't do this or else you're going to have to deal with her. That's Judge Gull. So they use Judge Gull as a threat, and it's exactly what Holman did to Fortson. Oh, you're gonna have to, the judge is pissed about this. Like, blow me. I don't give a like.
Right.
Like, blow me. But that's what they do. They just use like coercion and threats and intimidation. It's like, look how effective that is. Like, look where we are right now.
You ever had an unhinged boss?
Yes.
So like where they, at Chipotle,
Sure.
Some people will get really out of line. They want to talk to your manager.
Yeah.
And I used to have one of the most unhinged lunatics you could ever imagine as a boss. And I'd be like, you don't want to do that. Like, I promise you.
Oh, when you mean like customers or like
customers,
clients or customers, like, let me speak to the manager. And you're like,
yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to throw your bowl in the trash.
In your face. Yeah.
And you're not going to like it. Yeah.
You're not going to like it.
Yeah, I thought that was also really sad about what you said about Kelsey wanting to pursue forensics and
she was excited.
Yeah.
She was really passionate about it. I hate that. I hate it.
Yeah, it sucks.
She was like really passionate about it. And you can see in her tweets just like somebody said she sounds deflated, like even in the way that she was like tweeting. Like she was going to go away to school. She like got accepted into a forensics program overseas in the UK. Like she's tweeting all about it. What happened? And obviously we know what happens. It's that trauma happens, and it's like the whole reason that I cared about this in the first place, because these people are suffering because they're the leaders that they've trusted, the law enforcement and the people that are supposed to keep them safe, just fucking blow. They're just trash. And it's like I don't know though, because the alternative is like, what happens if the families buck against law enforcement there? Like, what do you think happens?
I mean, is it a minority family?
No.
I mean,
like in this specific instance, yeah.
I mean, in the inner city, what happens is they just disconnect their fucking phone line.
Right.
That's the fact. I mean, I like IMPD and shit. Like they have gone through a lot of reform, but like now larger agencies, like by inner city agencies where there's a lot of gun violence and people are getting killed all the time. They're just they're not going to call you.
Mm-hmm.
They've dehumanized your family member.
Yeah, he had it coming. It's his lifestyle or whatever. Yeah, it's bullshit. I think that we've seen it on like a microcosm of it with Carrie. We know that ow, I just kicked this really hard. Remember when I told you about my limbs?
Yeah. Dangly and wangly.
Yeah. It's always. So like Carrie in the beginning was like, they didn't even tell Carrie that they were having a press conference, the first one in the February 2017 one, like with the FBI. They didn't even tell her. She called Tobe and it happened to like slip out, and she was like,
Oh, hey, speaking of slipping out, I was just looking at the file name of some of those files that Kim Riley had on his desktop.
Tell me.
I paused it. It was like Officer Green, final review. Officer blank, final review.
Yeah, Riley did what did he do?
He did a
slip.
bad PII. Yeah.
Yeah, he did a slip.
and like some of the stuff was named like Doug Carter in underwear. That was a disinformation. That was a misinformation.
Was it a
But
disinformation?
what's really interesting, I didn't realize this before, but I don't know if you guys seen it, but when he pulled up that file, the folder, there are 3 files in there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yep.
And the audio looked like it had been last edited by the file name, even though it was saved into that folder in 2022, I think. Or
Yeah, they had like different versions of it almost.
yeah, it seemed like it was last edited in 2019. But that the video, the quote unquote video file,
Mm-hmm.
is a TIFF.
Mm-hmm. What does that mean, DB? Tell
Is
the
that a
people.
thing that people have talked about before?
Not on a live. No, I've not heard it on a live. I think you and I have talked about it. Or me. Well, go ahead. Explain what that is and why that might mean something.
Well, I don't know if it means anything, but a TIFF can have multiple different images inside of it. It's like a GIF.
Yeah.
But it's in a bitmap format. So like it's just I found it to be strange because
Yeah.
you can export a live photo
Mm-hmm.
to a TIFF.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'll let you work as this. I use TIFF all the time. I use to TIFF all the time. It's like scan docs. Interesting.
So could it? So remember, like we had all those like 49 frames of Bridge Guy or whatever, and people were like, "Oh, it's Could it be a? I mean, but they say it's a video. It's 43 seconds, so it's obviously not a live photo.
Well, is that even? Are those? Is what they're showing from the actual video?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We know that they have a video and that they have that, but maybe the video that I don't know. I don't know. I'd love to know. I hope we know eventually.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna know.
I don't think we're gonna know anything. Remember, I did that live with Michael. We did that live with Michael back in like March, and it was called "The Tenuous Relationship Between Trial and Truth." Michael named it, obviously, because everyone, and I've been screaming about this, like trial. Like, look at Karen Reed. Just because there's a trial, it doesn't mean that you get all the answers and that the evidence comes out. Like, we might not know anything more coming out of a trial than we know going into a trial at the end of the day. Like, and as far as truth goes, I'm not convinced that we will know the truth after a trial at all. At all. I'm not very hopeful about that.
Yeah, it's not happening. There's no truth. It's all
There is
lies.
no truth. Yeah, no, there is no truth, like at all, right? In general.
Speaking of a mistruth,
Yeah.
if you guys had to guess which of the prosecutors did the most recent egregious mistruth?
Yes, I was hoping you would talk about Latrell.
Oh no.
Oh.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry, I was hoping you would talk about this.
Y'all
Ask
heard
me
of
again.
Latrell? Okay.
Ask me again.
I just said okay. If you guys had to guess which of the prosecutors, the county employees, or not county employees, they're state employees. They were for Carroll County. Thanks, Bob. Got in a little bit of trouble recently. Which one would you pick?
Diener.
That's a good guess.
Mhm.
Guess again.
McClelland.
Nope, one left.
Latrell.
Latrell. So Latrell was literally the Grant County prosecutor. Fouts. Dang. Interesting that you bring up Fouts. I will save that for another time.
The judge, right? Yeah.
I will save the Fouts Latrell connection
Okay.
for another time.
Oh, I didn't know there was one. Yeah, please do. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I wrote some stuff down because.
Excellent.
I try to do that on occasion.
You have an occasion to write things
I
down.
have an occasion to take a note here and there.
Okay, excellent.
But I lost them. So this guy's a real fucking asshole. Okay, let's just start there. Who would have thought? So this guy used to work at a little agency. Well, okay, first he started as a Grant County prosecutor, right? We all know that. He was a long-time prosecutor. Grant County is, I think it's mainly Kokomo. Is that right? Marion? Maybe I'm wrong. How far is it from Kokomo? Sorry,
I'm not
guys.
sure.
Kokomo. Every time you say a fucking Indiana town name, Fiend goes, "It's Kokomo." It's do. It's pronounced Milan.
He's our
Lafayette.
he's our cultural expert.
Lafayette. Okay, anyways, Grant County. Fiend, can we get a head count? Okay, it's not. It's Kokomo County, isn't it? God fucking damn it. Anyways, there's a cross county task force. So I guess he worked a lot with Kokomo PD. Not the Kokomo crew, but the Kokomo PD. So what ends up happening is this guy starts investigating Latrell, right? Starts working on this investigation of a doctor. And my good friend just started working on her own investigation of a doctor in a hospital or a medical office. You found some, Purdue Pharma over prescription connection.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about me. Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, very bad. So
It's very bad.
some would say the worst.
Mm-hmm.
No, so they end up like in 2015. It looks like they end up having like a little bit of a push to start doing some more of these Medicare, Medicaid, drug, narcotics investigations, and I guess as a result of this case, which started in 2012 and was going into 2004 or 2014. And the main subject of the investigation was a doctor named Dale Economan.
Okay.
And he opened his practice in 2012 and 2014. Well, he started contracting with this printing company. And there was like reports that he was ordering a quote unquote suspicious amount of prescription pads for controlled substances. Okay. So this is probably like, oh, okay, alien spaceship sound effect vlog. Am I boring you?
No, not possible.
So this is a lot like backing into a parking space, if you order a lot of prescription pads, it could be considered as suspicious, just like backing into a parking space, because suspicion is objective. I'm sorry, subjective.
Yeah, subjective.
So the Indiana Attorney General's Medicare, Medicaid fraud control unit starts investigating him because there's some like patients that start filing complaints against this guy. Dr. Dale. And it ends up, going into kind of more serious levels of investigation. In 2015, in February, they end up going and making contact and getting a undercover or making confidential informant. So there's two people. The one person mainly I'm going to talk about is a police officer named Captain Cockrell. It's a female. First name's Tonda.
Okay.
Tonda, captain with the Kokomo PD.
Tonda, okay. Tonda with Kokomo.
Yep. And then there's a another officer who's actually a DEA special agent. And Captain Cockrell was allegedly at this time was a sworn DEA officer.
Ew.
On the DEA task force. So, they're flipping kids for a couple grams of bud back in the day, around 2015 probably. And, loose leaf cocaine.
Right.
The good stuff. And so they end up, getting this white collar drug enforcement lead, and they're just like, oh fuck, this is a big shot thing we got going on. Harry Balls. I had an acquaintance that was gaslighting me for 6 months talking bullshit. She's blocked. She tried to tell me that a grand jury already indicted him in secret. Are you talking about Richard Allen? Because I've heard that today actually as well. It's kind of interesting. Okay, so they start interviewing witnesses, start gathering contacts and stuff, and the pharmacists in the area start like kind of reporting on Dr. Dale's prescription habits. And in just a couple of months, they ended up submitting a probable cause affidavit, right? The officers. They get multiple search warrants, okay? They raid this dude's house, his home, a doctor. His office, they take his vehicles, and they seize millions of dollars worth of property and drugs. So that same day, there's a law firm called Garrison Law. They file a civil forfeiture complaint and accuse Dr. Dale of crimes and using his legitimate business, this doctor's office, to launder money that he's getting from ill-gotten gains, right?
Right.
And so because he's using his actual business practice to do that, it could be seen as they have the ability to seize all that property, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they do, but they'd never done it before. Grant County ends up like kind of taking point on it, but they have to hire this civil forfeiture company or the civil forfeiture law firm that ends up taking a lead on it and giving them advice for a percentage of the total money seized.
Okay.
Which
They
I
hired-
guess
Yeah.
you can get a bond for the cost or the total amount of ill-gotten gains, and if the law firm effectively helps litigate the civil forfeiture aspects of it, it ends up being they end up getting the money from what they take, and if it ends up being obviously part of a crime and it was actually laundered money, they work on being the receiver of the ill-gotten gains, and they end up paying the restitution back to the people.
Okay. I follow.
Okay. So at 2015,
Okay.
the attorney general ends up oh, hi, all eyes. How was batting practice? You hit any dingers? Okay, let's start the whole story over for All Eyes. I'm just kidding.
Sure, yeah.
All Eyes, just a quick catch up. White people doing some white people shit out there, fucking, over prescribing opiates, allegedly.
As they will, yeah.
And the cops are really pissed about it.
Why?
Well, because they don't like drugs. They're bad. It's the war on drugs, dude. This is 2015. So they end up taking this dude's medical license.
Mm-hmm.
Or they suspend it. They suspend his license, right?
Right.
Based off from accusations.
Right.
That's not cool.
Didn't they see shit?
Yeah, they see shit, and they, suspended his medical license, and there's nothing proven at this time.
Okay, he hadn't been like officially.
And just, a bunch of witnesses and stuff that were allegedly doing controlled buys and stuff. So 2016 happens. They file charges. They file 7 counts of dealing narcotics and other offenses. And then in 2019, he says, "Oh my God, I'm fucked, dude. I'll take a plea deal." Or no, this is 2019. It ends up being like 3 years later.
Yeah, it takes a while, right?
Takes a fucking long ass time.
Mm-hmm.
He ends up taking a plea deal to get these charges dropped. He pleads guilty to possession of marijuana and agrees to retire his medical license voluntarily for possession of marijuana.
Did they seize marijuana?
We can look at the full complaint. To
Okay,
see,
but like random.
But okay, so if there's a conspiracy, right, and say that they catch somebody in the conspiracy that possesses marijuana,
Mm-hmm.
in some like the federal rules of the way they charge drug crimes federally, sometimes you could be in on that drug possession. So
Okay.
even though he was like not actually possessing the marijuana himself,
Oh, I see.
I'm sure the charge was. It also could be that they pled him down to a lesser charge, and he couldn't get it for a lesser charge for selling narcotics, so they ended up pleading him down to marijuana
Mm-hmm.
by agreement of both parties or something like that. Anyway, so he ends up taking this deal. He gets the civil forfeiture case dismissed, and he gets his assets back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's the issue with that for the police? You can do this to a bunch of disenfranchised minorities in the inner city. What is their recourse?
Right.
They don't have one.
Mm-mm.
There's no mechanism by which they can exert control or power back over the government.
Right.
But you gave this dude $1 million, like at least $1 million worth of assets back, and he ain't got a medical license. So this
Right.
motherfucker is bored, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's got time. So he ends up filing a lawsuit in 2020. So he sues the Grant County prosecutor, right? James Latrell. He sues the lead officer, the DA task force member, Captain Tonda Cockrell,
Kokomo
PD, but a sworn DEA federal task force officer.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a federal lawsuit. And what ends up happening is all kinds of fucking filings going on, right? Like since 2000. So 4 years of back and forth. And finally, just a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, to be precise, they issued a finding. I'll find the exact language here. That the federal judge found that the state wrongfully used the civil forfeiture laws to induce a malicious prosecution, and they decided that this was so bad that, yes, qualified immunity was not attached. So when you hear people complain about qualified immunity all the time, it's because it's very powerful. It is one of the hardest things to get a judge to say that a state actor doesn't have. Because even if they do something really fucked up, even if you overcharge somebody, even if you maliciously prosecute somebody, well, maybe not so much malicious prosecution, but like if you do a really fucking stupid prosecution, that may not be malicious prosecution, and you may still have qualified immunity.
Yeah, it's hard
because you're acting
prove,
in your
right?
official duties.
Yeah.
Well, to break that, you have to be really acting outside of your official duties.
Mhm.
It has to be that fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
And this judge said, not only is it that fucked up, I am saying that your conduct was so bad, we don't even need to go to a trial. I'm saying on the face of the record, you lose. Summary judgment against the government for abusing the process claims, violating the Fourth Amendment, violating the Fifth Amendment, The Eighth Amendment for arresting him without probable cause.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is there's a quote at the end of this lawsuit, which I'm going to share.
Yeah, perhaps you can share it with the class.
Well, I was trying to go over just the topic, you know.
Yeah.
The,
Yeah, no, I know afterwards people like to read stuff sometimes.
yeah. So you guys reading all this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go. Read.
I got
read.
it.
So let's go. Control F. Let's see. What little fucking Latrell is. Okay. We're going to go to the end. So I like to start at the end. So I know we heard Michael talk about 1983 all the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? 1985, which is a different U.S. It's a different federal law.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like it, but so the judge ends up dismissing some of these claims under 1985, and what ends up happening is they find that Latrell. I want to go to a specific. Conspire.
I'm here still.
Okay. So 1985 is to permit recovery from a private actor who has conspired with state actors. So they ruled and say the claims against the defendant, Cockrell, Wisen, and the USA, they're dismissing those, but not against Latrell, Krug, and Garrison Law Firm. All three actors have been found to be state actors, making relief under Section 95 or 1985 duplicative of relief available under Section 1983. So, in conclusion, the court has preserved through mountains of briefings and hundreds, perhaps thousands of material facts identified by both parties as relevant to resolve 6 motions for summary judgment at hand. According, the court finds the following, which disposes the following motions. Defendant's motion for summary judgment on plaintiff's abuse of process, 8th Amendment, 14th Amendment, Class of 1, 14th Amendment, and Indiana Code, and Section 85 conspiracy claims are granted. Plaintiff takes nothing by way of these claims. Defendant's motion for summary judgment on the plaintiff's malicious prosecution, 4th Amendment, 5th Amendment claims are denied, and instead summary judgment is granted in favor of the plaintiff on these claims. The last motion is the plaintiff's cross motion for partial summary judgment against defendant Tonda Cockrell for malicious prosecution, and it is granted.
Sucks, Tonda.
So this is just something you never see.
Yeah.
Is a judge saying that there was a conspiracy
To go after to target that gentleman.
Yeah.
Mhm.
To target that gentleman. And guess what the benefit was?
Tell me.
Latrell, sorry, I keep fucking using my goofy name for him. Latrell worked for the law firm.
Ooh.
Yeah.
The law firm that
he hired as a state actor.
That's not good. That seems like a conflict, huh?
That's actually a conflict named under Section 1985.
Yeah.
So it is quite literally a violation of the law on its face.
Yeah. That ain't good. So this is
Right.
Latrell.
Latrell, yep.
Worked for the law firm that got a cut of the money, says Judge Jessica.
Thank you, Your Honor.
She explains things well. Morang says, eyeballs. So what does this mean? Woman says, is he in prison?
No, he's actually representing the state of Indiana versus Richard Allen right now.
In the case of the state of Indiana versus Richard M. Allen.
Yep.
Is he still representing?
Well, he was there yesterday.
He was? Okay.
That's what I heard, but I haven't heard anything about him being there today.
Yeah. Interesting. So as a result of this judgment,
Yeah. So the formal investigation into plaintiff's uncovered evidence, according to the allegations in the defendant Wisen's affidavit, the plaintiff's patients had 1, died of drug overdoses, and 2, sold prescription drugs to other drug-seeking individuals. The plaintiffs dispute the truth of the information contained in the affidavit.
okay.
I was just looking for the section that said, there's something in here, maybe it's towards more in the end, but I didn't quote it, or I didn't highlight it.
I'm muted. I'm like, why is he not answering me? So it was personal enrichment then, you think, right? Motivate, like follow the money.
Yeah, probably. It's whatever. Oh, for sure.
So he made money off of this, is what I was asking you.
Under the color of law.
Yeah. Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah. So there it is, folks.
And he's still prosecuting this case against Rick, at least in part.
Okay. Here's a good part here. For procedural due process claims to survive summary judgment, a plaintiff must first establish 1, a deprivation of any protected liberty or property interest, and then establish 2, deprivation occurred without due process. A lot of case law. The Seventh Circuit has repeatedly held the defendant's due process rights are violated by the creation of fabricated evidence by state officials, which is later used to deprive the defendant of liberty in some way. So by saying this, the court literally said that they actually conspired to falsify affidavits to get these search warrants. It's like not something you see very often.
I keep muting myself. I said, I don't think I've ever seen it like this before, like you laid it out. And that was in September, right? That judgment was issued.
Yeah, just the end of September. So he probably, like Nick and him probably haven't even finished their conversations about it.
That's bad. Thank you, woman. Yeah, I was muted. Yeah, that's bad. There's some fuckery afoot.
Yeah, and I think there's probably some people like Woman at Fiend and the other people in here that probably know a little bit more about the Kokomo crew, and that angle of things. But what? Actually, CN does always. He is not there.
So does anybody have the list of terms and names the defense can't say, please?
Dude, I want the fucking list of witnesses. They're just reading it out in court, and I guess like people aren't writing them down.
Yeah, I don't fucking know what's wrong with people, dude. I'd be fucking writing that shit down so fast.
I'd be saying like, you take one and I'll take the next one, and you take one, because we can't write so fucking fast. Like, dude, that'd be the most fucking important thing I want to hear.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Ignore the timeline. Attack the fucking witness list.
Right. Yeah.
How's your blood sugar doing?
Mine?
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
I'm gonna shoot you with a Smartie from over here and get you that.
I needed more gummy bears, probably. I'm fading. I was trying to find Criminal Network asked, Criminal Network, I think you're talking about the motions in Limine, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yeah, I can send. I think that's what he meant. The list of things the defense can't talk about. So like anything, basically. Oops. Fuck. Oh, ACV is pasting it. Okay, well, beat me to it. There you go. There it is. Click that, criminal network. They did say that Ives is on the defense. I was wondering about that. Yeah, of course. I'm very curious what Prosecutor Ives will have to say. Who do you want to see on the witness list the most? If you could be there for one day of any witness, who would you want to? Obviously, probably Tobin, right?
Yeah, if he's there, Tobin. But also, I would say probably. I want to know if Ronald Nichols is testifying.
Y'all keep talking about Ronald Nichols. I've never heard of him before.
He's in the budget.
Yeah, I know. I've never.
He's a forensic tool marks examiner, and he's a very well-known guy.
Mm-hmm.
So Mike is on. What does that mean?
Maybe she means I don't know. Mike Thomas or Ives is on. So is Mike Thomas on it? Sorry, he's a well-known tool marks examiner, you said?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. So he's a really well-known tool mark examiner, but they only paid him like $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a while ago, and I wonder if he did a consultation and Nick did not like what he heard, and so he just didn't do anything with it because, let's see here, I'm looking for him.
Yeah, he didn't like what he said.
Yeah, he didn't like what he said, I don't think. Yeah. Ronald, Robert Scremin, douchebag, Midwest Rentals, Lafayette Copier. Could they make copies of
The sketches?
They could. Oh, look at this. James Latrell, attorney's fees and parking. This guy's getting parking reimbursements. Very good. Okay. He's
Well, he's
made
not
a
a park
total
there.
of $75,000 on this case since the end of 2023.
Who?
Latrell
Oh, okay.
seems reasonable, but I think he's also doing a lot of other.
I thought you meant the tool marks examiners. Jesus, an expensive
No.
consultation. Oh my God.
No, that's ridiculous.
I know.
Oh, Nichols Forensic Consulting. It is line item 101 in the master sheet. He's a toolmark expert. He was paid on 4/26/24. And yeah, Nichols Forensic Consulting. His name's Ron or Ronald Nichols. So this guy really is not, from my research on him, the type of dude that's going to say, fuck AFTE, I'm going to just completely make up some shit for you and say that you could do a single point comparison in forensic tool marks or forensic ballistic or forensic firearm tool mark evidence, because AFTE don't do that. And he's like a big AFTE homie. So I just don't see it.
Yeah.
And it's really funny too. Like he's got, if he gets called, he's got some really fucking bad YouTube videos. And I'm talking like not even cringe personal shit. I'm talking about him talking about research.
Yeah.
And like statistical comparison and how to do statistically valid research.
And he's just wrong.
And it's just fucking wrong, dude.
It's embarrassing.
It's so bad. And
He's
it's
just
like
making it up.
He's like you've heard of the PCAST, right? The presidentials, the president's whatever the fuck, you know. It's a team of people that looked at how forensic evidence is not so forensic.
They're trying to basically raise the caliber of the scientific.
President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology. So PCAST and NIST end up doing a bunch of studies, what really more of a meta study of all the forensic tool mark examinations of firearms.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a really big study called the AIM study.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking about the fatal flaws of those studies. And he's like, yeah, well, they had test bias, test taking bias, and just like a really bunch of goofy shit. Where it was like very, it's just bad. Maybe I'll make some clips of it.
Yeah, you
We'll
should.
give it a lull together.
You should. You haven't had an occasion to do a clip in a minute.
Really?
But the dude has coke dealer hair.
But the dude has coke dealer hair.
But the dude has coke dealer hair.
It's so easy. You just, yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
What about this one? People didn't like
I
that
like
one.
that one. That's scary.
Spook.
Where is he? Oh, I couldn't find I tried to find the planet one earlier. I couldn't find the planet one.
Yeah, you need to send me the planet one and I'll make a little clip.
Oh, I thought it was in the brand folder. I couldn't
No,
find
I haven't put it on there yet. I have the really good ones like this one.
Mr.
And this one right here.
Whiteside.
Are you ready for this one?
I haven't seen that one in a minute.
Yeah, I'm gonna go do that one actually. So thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. I'm tired. Any
Okay.
questions for our no, he's gonna leave anyway. He's gonna
No,
Irish
here, go
goodbye
ahead.
me. Michael needs a link. I'm going to bed. Michael, okay. I'll give you 5 minutes and then I'm going to sleep.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Oh. Do you know how to take a cover like that happen? Is Nick just scouring Amazon to find self-published authors to hire? Mm-hmm. Probably. Come on down, Michael. Come on down. Who's Louis or Lewis? All eyes. Who dat? Who dat is? Who dat is? Ooh, freezing. I'm freezing, y'all. My dong is going to need more voicemail bits. Pretty please. I sent DB the updated witnesses. Where are we getting them? Just from listening, right? Listening and writing them down. Did I send the link? I did. Okay. Ah, I see. Do, 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 do. Whose hair is in Abby's hands, y'all? What if it's Ron Logan's? What if it's Ron Logan's and because they were found on his property, it's not a direct enough piece of evidence? Up with that, here's Michael. Hi, Michael.
Hi there.
Welcome.
So while you all were on, Bob had a pretty big story. It turns out that a federal district court on the 30th of September found James Latrell liable with a bunch of other people, two cops and a law firm, liable for falsifying evidence to absolutely ruin a doctor in Marion, Indiana.
Pretty messed up.
And I mean, it's a horrible story. It's extremely messed up, and you know, Bob said, and I'm with him. You know, make of it what you will. But if you're willing to do that kind of thing to somebody you know is innocent, what are you willing to do when you think somebody's guilty?
Yeah, probably just about anything.
And the other thing is that, and this is for somebody else to investigate. I don't know, but Latrell has some connection, some official capacity with DCS. And it raises the question of whether Latrell is the connective tissue between Delphi and the clique.
Yeah, well, that would make sense as to what, Nick McClellan and Latrell work pretty closely. So they certainly were working closely in April or whenever that, complaint was launched. That's pretty messed up. So now ZB says, so what happens? What's going to happen now with Latrell?
I don't know. That's up to the,
He left DCS right after
the defense is going to find out about it.
Yeah.
Defense knows about it now if they didn't before. If they want to DQ him, try to DQ him, that's up to them.
Yeah.
I know I wouldn't, if I were Nick McClellan, I wouldn't want Latrell anywhere near this thing. I mean, there's $4 million into this.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be getting rid of him. I would be getting rid of him right away.
Yeah. Yeah, they're in enough hot water, with everything that they probably wouldn't want somebody like that prosecuting on top of it. Nick has got to get rid of him.
Well, and I'm not saying he's done anything in this case. I'm not saying he's done anything in this case, but I mean, all of a sudden, it raises a lot of questions.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it just is a bad look, right? The appearance of it.
I just don't understand why somebody, Latrell has practiced law since 1981.
Yeah.
I have just no idea why he would do something like this. They absolutely, they seized the stock, $1 million of this doctor's asset. They got his law license.
Yeah.
Guy lost his house to foreclosure on stuff that Latrell with a couple of cops and a law firm all got together and just made up.
Scary. Why? Money.
For the forfeiture money.
They're the mafia.
That becomes the property of the Garrison law firm. Law firm gets a cut, but the bulk of it goes to the prosecutor's office.
Yeah, they're literally the mafia. Indiana's wild. It's wild that they DB was going through the actual what's it called, summary judgment, right? It's like right before you got on, so this is good timing. But he basically was going through the document and saying how, I've never seen a case like a summary judgment against a group of like a cop and a prosecutor before. So it's pretty bad.
Well, it would have been nice to. I wish I'd known about Tonda Cockrell 10 years ago, because she's a Kokomo. She just retired, I think. Was a Kokomo PD captain.
Yeah.
And this isn't Delphi related, but she was integrally involved and with some highly. There was a lot of suspicious stuff in a wrongful conviction case of mine back from 2002.
Wow. That 20 years ago.
I'm going to have to, The other thing is, I think the state PD's office is going to have to start going through their files over Ponda Cockrell, probably.
I would certainly hope so. Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it's the kind of thing. I mean, you know, this isn't this isn't a jury verdict. This is on undisputed fact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Christine DC says Latrell coerced witnesses against the doctor, and I think the witnesses in Click's case were also coerced. Latrell is the common denominator.
Well, I don't know about. No, he didn't. No, he didn't coerce witnesses. He actually got. I mean, if I read the findings of the district court correctly, he actually got together with the cops and made up the affidavit.
So maybe that, yeah. So who's to say that that's not some, I mean, the DCS case with Click we've talked about just seems, there's like similar vibes that I'm getting. Like the accusation, it just seems like a bunch of people got together and decided to ruin some guys' lives. You know, it's kind of what it seems like. I don't know.
Well, the Medicare fraud unit of the AG's office was also involved in the.
Yikes. That's not good.
Conspiracy, so,
That's not good. And the Attorney General's office, aka Leper's office. Was Latrell's law firm on the spreadsheet or any of the firm's clients?
Is Latrell's office? He's I don't know. I guess is he still? That's another interesting question. I don't know the answer to. Is he still the elected prosecutor in Grant County? I don't think so. I think he's doing his DCS gig.
Yeah, DB said that he left DCS right after Todd Click came forward in this case. Like the timing just kind of,
Oh, is that right?
yeah.
Well, I'm gonna leave it to you. I'll track down the fact.
2019. Yeah, thank you, Michael, for sharing that. I'll have to go back and catch Bob's explanation of it too.
It's kind of long. I mean, he goes through the complaint, and I mean, I'm sorry, it's just really shocking.
Yeah, it is really shocking. Yeah.
I mean, absolutely ruined this guy, and good on the Indianapolis lawyers who did
Judge
this case for the doctor.
Judge Jessica says, I don't understand why Latrell would even take this case, meaning, I imagine, meaning like the Rick Allen case, knowing that this was coming.
Well, you know, he may not. You know, I think Bob pointed out he may not have known it was coming. He may have said nothing to McClelland about it, or B, he could have said, you know, it's just one of these fucking meritless lawsuits.
Yeah, right. It's crazy.
Pardon my French.
Oh, your French is, we love French here. You know that. You're welcome to speak French here anytime.
I'm a leading troll who's often offensive, so.
I saw that, Michael. Congrats. Have you been blocked yet from that Twitter or that Reddit group? Is the question. If you've been blocked, then you know you've made it.
Yeah, I can. Well, all I can tell you is my schooling's not complete. I can read, but I can't write.
Ah, got it. Yeah, they're brutal over there. You should. They latch on to certain characters. It's they write fan fiction too. They've got it all figured out over there, I think.
I don't know. It just feels to me like I ain't worth it.
That's what I mean. I feel that way too. I'm like, of all the things that they could be talking about, we're on day 2 of jury selection in a case that that is the focus of their online, life, and they're talking about you and me and Courtney and Kathy. Like, talk about the case. Don't you care about the case, you weirdos? Goodness gracious. The only Reddit group that Fiend is banned from with a sad face. Oh, Fiend.
Well, I think I think they are saying things like the hair doesn't matter.
Hey, Michael, I have a question. Could the hair, so what if the hair belongs to the property owner? Would that be like a reason that they would kind of not
Look,
put
I
as
think
much?
we have to assume that nobody knows whose hair it is at this
You
point.
think that they didn't get any
I
kind
mean,
of conclusive?
if they knew whose hair it was, I mean, this case would have fallen apart completely.
Sure. Right, because it points to a third party. Weird.
Well, the existence of the hair itself does, but
Yeah, for
you know,
sure.
like I said in the tweet, I think it's going to be really interesting whether it's a male or female hair too.
Yeah, true. True. I wonder how much testing they've done on it.
Well, there's one person I'm thinking that they haven't compared it to, but they really need to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a
Thank you, ACV. It's so nice of you. I really appreciate that. And your commentary and your comments. Michael, Kelt wants to know, did they specifically say the hair did not belong to the girls? I believe so. It was not, it was a unknown, right?
well, they just said a hair that doesn't match Rick, and I assume it's not one of the girls' hairs because then it would have been meaningless. And
It would have been it wouldn't have
making-
been evidence, right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody would have been making. I mean, it could, you know, not completely irrelevant if it's, you know, so the hair was found in Abby's hand. If it's Libby's hair, I don't know if she was trying to like grab onto Libby when she was falling, you know, when Abby was falling or something. I mean, you could come up with that, but I don't think they'd be. If it were one, if the hair belonged to one of the girls, I don't think
Yeah, I don't
anybody
think
would be talking.
we wouldn't be talking about it probably, right?
Well, Andy Baldwin wouldn't be talking about it.
Right.
And it's really funny. I'm working on a case out of Valparaiso, wrongful conviction case, where guess what? There's a hair in the hand of the guy who was killed that's never been tested.
Wow.
And by the way, the guy who supposedly killed him is completely bald.
I love that. Of course. Of course. Rosie wants to know, has the media done a story about the Latrell court decision? And I imagine the answer is no, right?
You know, I don't have a subscription to the Indiana Lawyer, so I don't know.
I think we did
I
a
haven't
cursory
gone-
search and didn't see anything immediately. So I don't think so.
Yeah, well, I'd say there's a good chance. I mean, it's not, you know, the wheels turn slowly, but I have a feeling that after Delphi's over in a month, after this trial's over, I have a feeling that he's going to be retiring and withdrawing from the bar pretty quickly.
Good. Get him out of there.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's. I guarantee you, if I did something like that, my license would be gone.
DB's predicting that Latrell will not be there on Friday. I'm tending to agree with him. I think they're going to make him very sparse, and eventually he'll probably just kind of fade out of the case. I think.
Having done whatever he's done already.
Yeah. Yeah, I just can't imagine.
And
it
he
would
may
be...
have done nothing. I don't know.
Well, didn't they summary judgment him? Oh, you mean with Click?
No, I mean, whatever with Click, with whatever. I mean, who knows?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, and I mean, and that's the thing that's so sort of disturbing about it, and that as I said, it's like, if you're willing to do that in one case, and just to create a case, I mean, that was just to create a case for money.
Right.
I mean, what are you willing to do in a case like this?
Where you think that the guy
And,
is
and
the guy.
yeah,
Because I really believe they think Rick's
so I don't.
involved. Like, I don't think they believe that they're framing an innocent man. You know, when people say that, it's like, it's just such, it just really dilutes, you know, the point. They don't think he's innocent. They just think that the means justify the ends in their mind because they believe he's guilty. So they'll do.
It's the ends justify the means.
The ends justify the means. Thank you.
Justify
Thank you, Michael. The ends justify the means, right? As long as we get where we need to get, who cares how we get there? If we frame, we're not framing an innocent man. We're stacking evidence or planting evidence or eliciting false confessions out of a guilty man anyway. Like, I think that's how they justify it.
I mean, I don't know how they justify it, what they justify it, what's going on in their heads. I mean, figuring out what's going on in another human being's head is always difficult, but Nick McClelland is in a definite spot. His county's going to have to ante up $4 million for this trial. And, you know,
what a mess.
He's not in a position to say, well, I didn't really mean it.
Why are they doing this? They can't win. Why are they doing it? Why are they going through with it?
Do not underestimate the power of confessions. I think I think the defense may have some great stuff. I don't know what stuff that is. You know, the hair is obviously incredibly helpful. And by the way, as a hair, as opposed a hair with really well established DNA science that excludes Richard Allen kind of trumps tool mark evidence.
That's remarkable that they have that. And I don't know that they knew. So they said something about, this is such a great point. And this is really what I think, like, this is really what I'm asking. Like, because I believe that Rick Allen will likely, I believe there's a very good chance he'll be convicted. Unfortunately, I hope I'm wrong, but I'm prepared for that very real possibility.
But you just said, Angela, that McClelland didn't have a chance to win.
Well, I said that, but I said they can't win, meaning like, in this common ACV, that's the thing about lying. You can't stop ever. Like, this doesn't end with his conviction, I don't believe. Like, they're never gonna, this is never gonna be over for them, I feel. And I just feel like, yeah, it's like, it's too late for them to turn back now, but like, where does it end? Like, he's convicted and then what? He's gonna appeal and nobody's gonna be sad. I mean, even if he's convicted, they've done so much damage to public trust. Like, why are they doing any of this? I don't get it. Like, they could have just not prosecuted him yet. And I think that, I don't know what they thought. I think they really thought that they were going to just get flooded with tips and they were going to get more information as soon as they arrested somebody, and it just didn't happen. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. But yeah, it's, you know, a lot of people are saying, well, you know, once the evidence is out, I don't know. I mean, you know, Bob was saying that now we're going to get to see all the evidence, and a lot of people are saying that, and I'm not so confident we're going to get to see all the evidence.
No.
Obviously we're not, because the third-party guilt stuff so far is still out, though I think there's a good chance that's coming back.
I think so, yeah. Remember, Michael, we did that live. I was talking about it earlier, the tenuous relationship between truth and trials, and how, unfortunately, trial does not always equal learning the truth. In fact, it rarely equals. That's so disappointing, but.
Well, I mean, you know, one fact that the jury's not going to find out about is that Rick Allen has no criminal history. I mean, I think that's an incredibly important fact.
Yeah, and that would have no reason to come in, right?
No way to get it in. I mean, no.
That's not right. I mean, I understand why, but it just feels like that's really important.
Well, it's the other side of, except for crimes of dishonesty.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why Click, that's one of the reasons Click, I think, and now he's only been charged and he won't be convicted before the trial's over, so they probably can't impeach him with it. But,
Yeah.
there's what's known as 404B evidence, that is, you can't, except for specific things, like to prove motive or intent or lack of mistake, you can't use, people, the bad things people have done in the past, including crimes.
Right.
With exceptions, there are some crimes that kind of murder. There, you can impeach somebody automatically with a murder conviction.
It's good to know.
You can impeach people with crimes of dishonesty that are less than 10 years old. But Rick Allen doesn't get to. He doesn't get as part of his defense. Hey, look, I've never committed a crime in my life. I served in the National Guard, and then go on to say, and I didn't just on a random February afternoon go out and slaughter 2 girls,
Right.
which I think would be very compelling to a jury.
Yeah, for sure. Hi, DB. Oh,
Is that the Latrell thing?
I think so. It's a little blurry, but it'll probably clear up in a second. Yeah.
Well, I hope somebody I hope somebody puts it up someplace where people can get to it and read it themselves. Because I mean, you really have to. If you don't read it for yourself, you really won't believe it. Did somebody get the complaint as well? Because that's the opinion.
I think DB probably, yes. We can share them.
Yeah, I mean,
There's Mullins.
put them up on Twitter and in a link or something. I don't know, Google Docs or wherever you keep stuff, because people should really read this stuff.
I can't click on this link, All Eyes, but everyone else can. I think if you're in the YouTube app, All Eyes just posted this link in her it's in my folder, she says, so it is in her folder.
I mean, the other thing somebody could do is go up on Pacer and actually get the summary judgment documents, because they're the details.
Yeah, I think
the really gory details will be in the summary judgment document.
There's
There was an interesting question that came out of the complaint as Bob was reading it. So complaint is the first document filed in the case, right? And they talked about a deposition of this Kokomo cop, Katanda Cockrell, that was taken before the complaint was filed. And I was wondering, I just was wondering, sort of, in what context was that deposition taken? Because it wasn't taken in that case. I mean, they weren't taking pre-filing depositions.
Yeah.
So was there another case out there that they took your deposition in? Anyhow, that's kind of what I got. It's kind of late. I got to get my car fixed early in the morning, and I just wanted to, I don't know, come over here, and I didn't know you all were doing the Latrell stuff, so if you knew about it, if you didn't.
It was helpful. No, but your analysis is always much appreciated and helpful. DB is just highlighting here. It looks like the Frank's analysis within this is the summary judgment doc, right? Yeah.
Yeah. They set aside all the false stuff and nothing was left.
Right. Imagine if the judge in this case were doing her job. Imagine. It's gone now because all of our channel, it's one of the videos that I didn't get saved. It's gone. But before the Frank's memo came out, I actually did a video on what Frank's hearing was. And I did like an example. Basically, the standard is you redline everything that's false or omitted. And you literally, judges, they say the best way to do it is judges should literally like extract and read it without the false or omitted, like read the whole thing without all the false or omitted info and see what's left. And it seems as though
you strike the false stuff and include the omitted stuff.
Well, right, exactly. But that's basically
you said you strike the false and omitted stuff.
right. You include whatever was omitted, like Odin or whatever, third party stuff, like all of that. And it just seems like other cases, I mean, it's just not anywhere near it's like the burden in this case is so impossible to reach, but it shouldn't be. It's not such a hard burden in most cases.
Well, the importance of the Frank's memo, I mean, the huge importance of it was obviously exposing the whole Odinism thing to the public. The practical intent of it was pretty modest, and that was simply to suppress suppress Rick's gun and the other bullets in the place. I mean, they weren't going to get the arrest undone.
Right. Yeah. For sure.
And so the idea of suppressing the gun is if you don't have the gun, you can't run these tool mark tests.
It's true. If they don't have the gun, there's nothing they can match it to and say this came from your gun. For sure.
But that's still, I mean, given the junkiness of the tool mark evidence in this case and in most cases, if I'm doing the appeal, I mean, for sure there's going to be, this should have been suppressed, but at this point, I think given the other stuff in the case, it's a pretty small piece of it. I understand Nick McClellan thinks it's a big piece of it because that's in his mini opening, and we've got he's bridge guy. We've got the bullet, and we've got the confession.
Right. Yeah, it's his whole case. Crazy.
So anyway, thanks for the work you do.
Thank you, Michael. I always appreciate seeing you in chat, and I know all of our chatters sometimes I'll miss your chats and I'll have a bunch of people, hey, Michael wants on panel. So I always appreciate when you come in and give us your footnotes.
Very funny. Footnotes.
It's Travis calls you. Well, I guess there's nothing going on tomorrow, so we'll have to just reconvene Thursday. And
well, tomorrow somebody might sort of spend some time trying to make I don't know how much can be done, but trying to make the Latrell DCS click connection.
yeah.
Anyway, nighty night, and I'll probably just listen to y'all for a while.
That sounds good, Michael. You're probably going to listen for 2 minutes because I'm about to pass out, but I'm glad you could come. And yeah, we'll see you soon. Bye, Michael.
Bye-bye.
Latrell, huh? Who'd have thunk that Nick's second chair would be a dirty motherfucker? Who'd have thunk it? Not me. How many filings will we get tomorrow? Good question. Because they're doing all their hearings on Thursday, right? Or at least their pretrial hearings. Kayla, that's okay. I didn't see your chat, Kayla. Were you tagging me in, tagging Michael in? It's okay. Hi, Indy Cindy. Tomorrow, Fiend says we attack the timeline. Feel an Irish goodbye coming. Page surcharges, 10 cents a page. Shiraz says, I am shocked. Good night, all. Woman is shooketh. Great call, Michael. Thursday and Friday before opening statements. I was a screamer. Y'all are funny. All right, y'all. Well, thanks for hanging out again today. Courtney and I are going to do a spooky soon, our spooky episode. We keep pushing it off because there's just a lot to talk about, but bye, all eyes. Everyone say bye, all eyes. Bye, Christine, DC, Judge Jessica.